behind us. Now remember, this was 2 decades ago. These mass shootings that we're seeing now weren't occurring back then. So I was looking for an explanation. I was waiting for the guy to say something like, all right, everybody put your wallets on the tables. After that, I thought, well, maybe it's a hit. Maybe somebody important's in here. But he just kept shooting. I couldn't see him initially. He was on the other side of the truck. But about 45 seconds passed as he worked his way around the front of the truck, and I was able to visually see him take aim, pull the trigger, go to the next person, take aim, pull the trigger, go to the next person, about this fast, take aim, and pull the trigger. 45 seconds to figure out that this guy was just there to kill people. It was not the first thing that came to mind, and I've got to tell you, 45 seconds is an eternity. Well, I thought, I've got him. I've got this guy. Now realize at this point, almost everybody in the restaurant is down. He was standing up. He was maybe 15 feet from me, and I've hit much smaller targets at much greater distances. And I reached for my purse, which was on the floor next to me. I had a place to prop my arm where the table was upturned. But then I realized a few months earlier, I made the stupidest decision of my life. At that time in the state of Texas, it was illegal to carry a gun on your person. Now, I carried it illegally for years because an assistant district attorney in Houston convinced me to do so. But once I moved out to the country, I did what most people do. You know, I figure, what are the odds? You know, if I need a gun, it's going to be if my car breaks down on a back Texas road somewhere. It's sure as heck not going to be in a crowded place in the middle of the day. So my gun was 100 yards away, completely useless to me. I remember looking at my purse thinking, great, what do I do now? Throw my purse at him? You can't go up against a guy with a firearm with your butter knife. It doesn't work. At that point, my dad took my attention. He was next to me and he said, come on, or he said, I've got to do something, I've got to do something. He's going to kill everybody in here. And I tried to hold him down by the shirt collar, but when he saw what he thought was a chance, he broke loose from me and he went at the guy. But the gunman had complete control over the restaurant, and he simply turned and shot my dad in the chest. My dad went down. He had covered maybe half the distance, and he was alive and still conscious, but I saw the wound, and as dreadful as this may sound, I wrote him off at that point. The good news was that it made the gunman change direction slightly. Instead of continuing directly toward me, he went off to my left a little bit. And that was the first time I really got a look at him, a really good look. He was about my age at the time, 30-something. Pretty good-looking guy, well-dressed, brand-new truck, and the stupid things that go through your mind. I remember thinking, what could be so wrong in this man's life? But it doesn't really matter, does it? You can analyze it all day long, but the fact of the matter is, evil exists. The other side would like you to talk him out of it. Evil exists. Shortly after that, I heard a window break at the back of the restaurant. I thought, oh God, here comes another one. But then I saw people actually getting out of the restaurant that way. So I looked up over the top of my upturned table, and when I saw the guys back to me, I reached around, I grabbed my mother by the shirt collar, I said, come on, we gotta run, we gotta get out of here, and my feet grew wings. I was one of the only people from that front area to make it out that back window. We were kind of cornered up there. Once I made it through the window, I ran into my manager friend who had come out of the kitchen area. He said, thank God you're all right. I said, yeah, but Dad's been hit and it's bad. And I turned to say something to my mom, and that was the first time I realized she hadn't followed me out. Now, to make a long story short, in an odd twist of gun control fate, the police officers, many of whom were patients of mine, were one building away in a conference, in a hotel. The hotel manager had asked them to please leave their loaded weapons in their locked trunks because she didn't want to offend any of her patrons or worry them. Precious moments were lost while those officers retrieved those weapons. I told you several were patients of mine, and about a week later, they told me what happened. They said they got into the restaurant, and at that moment they didn't know who the gunman was. But they did see a woman on the floor, out in the aisle, cradling a mortally wounded man. They said that they watched this 30-something-year-old guy walk up to her, put a gun to her head. They said she looked up at him, put her head down, and he pulled the trigger. That's how they knew who the gunman was. They said all they had to do was fire a shot into the ceiling, and this guy rabbited to a back bathroom alcove area, exchanged a little gunfire with him, and put a bullet in his own brain. That was my parents. It didn't occur to me as I was running out the back window, my mom wasn't going anywhere without Dad. They had just had their 47th wedding anniversary. She wasn't going anywhere. 23 people were killed. As that madman is walking around the room, taking aim and having complete control over that circumstance, as he's leveling his gun on your 2-year-old's forehead, even if you've chosen not to have a gun, don't you hope the guy behind you has it and knows how to use it? Ask them to name one single place where a mass shooting has occurred where guns were allowed. Guns were not allowed, sir. They were not allowed to carry guns on Fort Hood. You can't name one. Because when a madman wants to rack up a high body bag count, they go where they know they can shoot people like fish in a barrel. If guns are the problem, then somebody explain to me why we haven't seen these mass shootings at NRA conventions, or the gun shows, the dreaded gun shows, or skeet and trap shoots, or anything where there are thousands of guns in the hands of at least as many law-abiding citizens. Somebody explain that to me. There's zero logic. So yeah, it's personal. I'd like to finish with letting you all know that I know it's hard sometimes, at least it is for me, because sometimes you think what you do doesn't matter. But I promise you guys, you stick it out, you will be heard. I would dearly appreciate it. Go buy this book. It's easy read, and give it to your neighbors, and give it to your legislators. Know that you guys are doing the right thing. I thank you for what you do.
Is in her 70s. She's a petite little woman, a delightful woman, who works as a church treasurer at her church and sometimes volunteers as the secretary. On September the 28th, 2009, some of you may have heard the story of Mary Shepherd. She and another woman who were in their 80s were working in the church. And a paroled felon broke into the church to rob them. 6'3", 250 pounds, he attacked those women. 70 years old, 80 years old, stomped on their faces, stomped on their necks and bodies, injured them so badly that their families did not recognize them later. Left them for dead. Now, what the news didn't cover that day, what you didn't hear that day, is that Mary, in her 70s, had successfully completed 5 different firearm training courses. In her purse that day, she had 2 licenses to carry that are recognized in over 30 states. But Mary was not carrying her firearm that day because she was where? In Illinois. There were 2 crimes committed that day. The attack on those women, and Illinois, the state of Illinois, banning those women from having the means to protect themselves with when they were attacked. That was the crime that day.
Conceal!